everybody, and good evening, and welcome to My EdTech Life. I am so excited to be here today, guys. I know it's been a while. We've been on vacation, schedule changes, and so on and so forth. But I am so excited to be back here right in front of you on a live show. And today's show is just so exciting. It's so energetic. I mean, I had a great time with our guests just speaking, right now and, prior to the show. And I'm just so excited for his energy and what he's going to come and share with you today. And as always, before we introduce our guest, I just want to tell you, each and every single one of you, all our audience members, those of you listening on the replay, thank you. Thank you so much for making My EdTech Life what it is today. We are on show 76, and we couldn't do this without you and your support. And thank you so much for all the love that you've shown our show. Thank you, thank you. And as always, we always try our best to bring you the best. But again, without further ado, today we've got an amazing, amazing show, guys. Today, our special guest truly is magical in every sense of the word, not only in what he is able to do as far as maker spaces and tinkering, but just in overall the passion that he shares for creativity and how he inspires students and even adults such as myself to continue to create. So today we have Mario, the Maker Magician, with us today. Mario, how are you doing today?
Thanks so much for having me on, Fonz. This is awesome. I'm doing great, and it's good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Likewise, it's great to see you. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about. So, Mario, just for our audience members, those that are watching live right now or those that will be catching this on the replay, if you can introduce yourself to our guests, give us a little bit of context as far as what you do, and well, I normally ask if you can add one interesting fact about yourself that no one knows, but I think just being a maker magician is already an interesting fact. But if you can go ahead and enlighten us with maybe one more fact, we truly love that.
So my name is Mario Marchese. I go by Mario the Maker Magician, and I'm part of a family that tours the country a couple months out of the year. And we have a touring family show, and my show is all homemade robotics. And I've been very fortunate over the years to be, performing on television a little bit and doing some being an opening act for some artists. I've been on Sesame Street where I got to make magic tricks, and I got to tour with David Blaine in 2018. So very awesome events that have happened over the years that helped us raise our kids. I have 2 kids to be able to do this full time, where I can share my love of making and magic, and get to raise my children in that too.
Man, that is amazing. Like I mean, performing with David Blaine, I mean, that is amazing. Can you tell us just maybe a little bit of how that experience can be like?
Yeah, so I'm lucky to live outside of the New York City area, and I got fortunate enough to cross paths, and it was a magical thing that happened where David, needed, he was doing some events where there was children involved, and my name came up, and I got a chance to, work with him. And it was a life-changing experience to be around someone who is kind of like the staple of magic. I mean, he really is the magician of our generation. So, just the moments that I got to spend with him, I think of him like the Steve Jobs of magic, So it was really exciting to be around such a creative force, and also because of people like him and like the small things that have happened, like, those kind of things help elevate your career and give you confidence and help you to pursue further, so from that, we got fortunate where we could, perform at some small time theaters throughout the country. And it's been real fun watching the robotics evolve into bigger robotics, and the way we can interact with families with the robotics to do magic, has been real exciting.
Oh man, that sounds so exciting. And I'm just really so pumped up with all of your experiences that you're going to share with us also as well. But, just to kind of get things started a little bit, as you started pursuing this, what was your inspiration? How did you put, or maybe let's go back to maybe even as a child. Were you a tinkerer? Was this something that you had already been doing, that you were experimenting with, being creative? Tell us a little bit of where that love of tinkering started coming from, or maybe where it blossomed.
Yeah, I mean, my first job I ever got was at a flower shop in Mamaroneck, New York, called Mamaroneck Flowers. And I remember I was very short, in school. So I was like always the shortest kid. I remember pulling up on the counter, like, can I get a job? And like, they were like, no, come back next year. And it was a flower shop near where I was growing up, near my house. And I started working at this flower shop, and they taught me. It was a wonderful family there. Like, talk about family business. And they just kind of took me in and taught me the art of floral design and how to mix colors properly and what's pleasant to the eye and how to design flowers in a very specific, tight space. And that kind of started the creative journey for me. And from there, I had an amazing teacher, Miss Ranello, in Rhinebeck High School, and she changed my life. She taught about artists that made a living doing art, like people like Andy Warhol and Basquiat and Alexander Calder and Tom Sachs and all these different kinds of mediums to create art and expression. And that blew my mind, like it really affected me. So the love of art came first, and from there, I got the magic bug. I accidentally walked into a magic shop in my early 20s, and when you're lucky, once in a while, you'll get to see someone perform their art, and their art is perfection. It's like watching a Picasso painting, and in the moment what you're seeing is profound. And I got lucky. I just happened to watch a routine by a performer that was way more famous than I could ever imagine. I didn't know at the time, but watching like perfect magic changed my life too. And I just couldn't look back. I wanted to replicate the magic that I felt. And that's how the magic journey started.
Wow, that is such an interesting story. Just growing up, understanding a little bit of that creativity, the art, working at the flower shop. And then thanks to Ms. Ranello, look at you, for inspiring you and just bringing you into the world of art and creativity. And, that, guys, I just wanted to add, that's why teachers are so amazing. Just the inspiration. All it takes is that one teacher that can just spark something in you. And then Then you walked in, you saw the magician perform, and then it was just bam, that's it. That's what I want to do and replicate. So tell us about that little journey, or I should say that journey now of how you kind of just started, maybe how often did you practice? What were some of the obstacles that you had to overcome to now get to where you're at today? Yeah,
that's a great question. Magic is just like playing an instrument or learning how to paint. You learn from the classics, so like if your goal is to be a musician, you're going to cover the most famous songs that hit you the hardest, and then learn the algorithms of what make the song great, right? And then you learn how to replicate from that. So it's the same thing with magic. Like there's core principles of magic. So right away, like I learned these classics, like the Miser's Dream, like these kind of routines that are like magician's ears when they hear it spark up. Everyone else is like, what is he talking about? But these are core principles of magic that you learn. And then from there, you start creating your own. So that creative mind, that whole creative pursuit from when I was a teenager kind of sparked up once I started learning those classics in magic. And you want to make your own song, no matter where you pursue your art. And I think that's the big thing that I admire about you too, is how like the way that you pursue this creativity when it comes to kids and like educating teachers, like that whole concept is so powerful because it only takes that one teacher, and it only takes one tool, whether it's an Arduino or whether it's a 3D printer and you learn something on Tinkercad, there's going to be something that clicks. And then you find some type of signature thing that separates you, and then you take off with it, And so that's what happened with me. Like I got into magic, and at the same time, like I got into the Arduino. It was like 2005, 2006. It just came to the States. You know, I remember reading Make Magazine, like, what is this blue board that like I can use it, type words, and then I can make motors move? This is nuts, you know, like, and then my brain was like exploding with like all these magic ideas of me walking away from my suitcase and robotic things moving, you know. And it was a hard road back in 2006, 7. There weren't tutorials. I don't even think Instructables existed. Like, there was no journey. Like, you had to really plow through this code and learn how to program. And that's kind of the basis of where everything started. You know, it kind of snowballed slowly over the years where I adapted the technology into my current show.
Wow, that is amazing. You know, and you know, what I love is how, for me, you know, growing up and watching performers do, you know, TV shows and doing the you know, the magic and the illusion, all the illusions and all that stuff. But for you to kind of take it that extra step and including robotics, to me, I think that seems really cool, because it's like you're stepping outside of the box, something that maybe nobody has tried to do before. So let me ask you something. Like, was that something that was kind of maybe, was it very well received in the community, or was it kind of like, you know, he's cheating, you can see the robots doing all that stuff, you know, and so on? What was their response?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you know, I talk about this story all the time. Like, the way that it started was I had two different worlds. Like, I had my tech world where I was building abstract machines, and I had my magic world on the weekends where I performed. It came from a criticism I got from a show where some parent was complaining about, you know, the show just seemed generic and just seemed average. And that really cut to the core. And I was at a fork where I had to choose, like, do I stop doing magic, or do I utilize every single talent that I have over the years and put it into my show? And from that moment, I started integrating electronics, and I built this trick called the suitcase machine. And I have banners that pop on my suitcase, and then one by one, every banner just falls on purpose to music, and the kids scream, and then I fix the banner, and then when I turn around, another banner falls, and the next thing you know, there's like spring snake shooting, there's like a giant eyeball climbing up, and then all the suitcase collapses with all the banners, you know, and it was awesome, man. That was like a game changer. Once that evolved into the opening of my show, I couldn't look back. And it's been really fun trying to figure out new ways of how to use this technology. Actually, can I show you a video
of
a short performance of during this pandemic? Because I lost my in-person show for all these months. It was devastating, you know, not only financially, you know, where our income depends on this, but it was also just like creatively. But through that frustration, I built a robot called Automabot, and I'll show you a clip. This robot's is more famous than me forever. Like, I don't know what happened. I never have viral videos, but this robot, I'll show you one clip of this. This is a robot named Automabot that I built performing a classic of magic called the coin matrix. This is a trick that magicians perform all the time. But the difference is here, I completely went nuts and I built a robot that does all the performing. So here, check this out real quick.
Oh my goodness, that was amazing, Mario. And actually, I think that is actually the clip that I saw that my great friend shared, and I was like blown away. And I was like, I definitely need to get Mario on the show. But before we get into this, because that was so amazing in the way that you created that. But I just wanted to touch base on something that you said prior. You mixed both worlds. We talked about that. The world, your passion that you had for magic, and then your passion that you have also for tech and tinkering. And you mentioned that you would create abstract machines that you were creating. Where did that come from? Where did you draw inspiration? How that interest into building those to now help you in what you're doing today?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to Mr. Ranello, introducing me to Alexander Calder, Calder's Circus, and watching like homemade automatas from like the 1800s. Like when I first got into magic, it wasn't the magic that excited me. Robert Houdin, who's like they call him the forefather of magic. Like he was a clockmaker, and he built like mechanical pieces of art that did magic. I mean, that was something that struck a deep chord when I first heard of that, and of him. And so that, that idea of like, using sensors, right? Like sound to create like a machine that draws based on the different tones it hears, that was fresh, like back in 2007, I mean, that was like, that fascinated me. There was an artist named Timothy Hawkinson who had an exhibit in New York City, just insane artist, and he just created these mechanical machines, like where like like this machine would sign his autograph, and then it would feed through another machine that would cut the autograph. So it would have little slips of paper with his autograph, and it was a mountain of papers, like, and you just watch this machine just constantly sign his name and cut it. And so those kind of things really inspired me. So I started taking apart like old printer motors and adding the Arduino with some sensors and sound and Adafruit, the electronics company, they were brand new back then too. I remember first ordering from them online, and between them and Make Magazine, I mean, there is nothing more powerful to me that's inspired me than Make and Maker Faire. I feel very lucky that happened in our generation, where this technology and that information getting delivered to us so early on, like the Arduino, and all the tutorials in that magazine early on, definitely inspired me a lot.
Man, that is so, so cool. I just love hearing that, and to be able to, for yourself now, being able to use that passion that you have in both, both magic and in tinkering and in creating. And now you've put a show together where you are promoting, you're promoting makerspaces, you're promoting tinkering, you're promoting creativity, you're promoting innovation. And to me, that really speaks so highly of you, and the fact that you've been able to take the things that you love and maybe even step outside of that box and taking it to a new level. And now you're presenting it to others, to an audience now today that maybe oftentimes may not be too much into tinkering, because of course we may be busy with our cell phones and we're more into the electronic aspect of it. But the now being able to get hands-on, and I've experienced it for myself doing STEM camps, the look on the students' faces when they're problem solving, they're collaborating, they're talking to each other, they're kind of like in their own world, where maybe if there were differences among them, now it's like, hey, we're working together to, create something. And I think that is just something that is so valuable, and that is just amazing. So I thank you. Thank you so much for what it is that you do.
Thank you, man. That's why it's so great to jam with people like you, like, because I can tell your heart is in the right place, like what you do, like the goal that is authentic, like, and that's what it's about. I didn't choose to be a children's magician or a family entertainer because I want to be famous or I want to make millions of dollars, like I chose it because like we all have a story to tell in this life, and I really believe that life's meaning is like us just kind of like, I was talking about this yesterday. I picture life like a table that's covered in sand, and we spend our life just moving the sand around and reading the words of what the story is that we're always meant to tell, and there's distractions and there's all kinds of noise all the time. But, if we can empower kids to create what they imagine, like, and if it's an Arduino that does that, or Tinkercad, or a 3D printer, man, that's powerful, you know, because the big goal in life is to create what we imagine, you know, like that our imagination is limitless, that like what we dream of, we can make. And so that's the goal. That's why everything is covered in cardboard and tape. That's why I have all kinds of weird, like 3D printed robots moving around, you know. There's my little magic wand bot. There it goes. Yeah, he's here. But yeah, so I have all kinds of crazy robots here. I'll give you a teaser if you want to see of a robot that will be in my next book here, if you want to see it real quick. So this is a little frog that I built, and this is a Rubik's Cube. It's a tiny cube, unsolved. I'm going to put the cube into the robot. See if you can see it. Can you see it there?
Wow, yes.
Okay,
yes,
you see it, right? So this is running on an Arduino. Watch the little cube, okay? Check it out. Watch this. Look, ready? All I got to do is look, just like that, I snap. You see that? Pretty amazing, right?
Oh my goodness.
So this is a teaser of my second book that'll be coming out in the winter, where it's going to be called maybe Robot Magic. So there's going to be 7 robotic magic routines, and everything in the book is going to be cardboard. Like this is another routine. It's called Chomperbot. That's going to be cardboard, robotics, and a magic trick. You know, so where it's not just about the movements, it's about a routine that can make people, you know, get them inspired, get them excited, you know.
All right. Well, we've got Eric Davis here who's joining us on Facebook. Thank you, Eric. He gives a big wow. So, Eric, thank you so much. Thank you to all our viewers that are watching us right now on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And let me see where we else. And on my EdTech Live or EdTech Teacher page on Facebook. Thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. That right there is just amazing. Unfortunately, we probably wouldn't be able to compete in a competition with that because, you know, we'd be winning for sure. But that robot was something that was very impressive. And I just love it, my friend. I mean, like I said, any those things that you do are just amazing. Now, you did mention that this is something that is coming out in your second book, but tell us a little bit. Right now, I'm actually getting ready. I'm going to pop in the link to your shop, but tell us a little bit about maybe your first book. What inspired you to create that first book, and maybe what is, just describe a little bit of the content that our audience members can find there.
Yeah, so I've been really lucky. I've never published a book in my career. This year, I got fortunate enough to collaborate with Make. So this is published through Make. It's called The Maker Magician's Handbook. And what the book is, honestly, from a grown-up perspective, this is my best lesson plans, my best magic lesson plans for kids. I taught magic after school programming for 5 solid years, every day of the week to 5 different schools. And this is the best routines that I could teach in 45 minutes that gave the best reward to kids. So basically, I compiled those lesson plans into a full magic show that you can build at home. And that's what this book is. The best routines from the 5 years. And they're using all classics of magic, but it's accessibility. So everything is accessible objects that you have around the house. So I'm really proud of this. If you guys... Yeah, and then there's my philosophy too of how to put style into your performance, like the aesthetics and creating a backdrop and adding music, you know, so it's all in here. And speaking of Make, I don't know if you know, but Maker Camp just got launched this week. There's so many great projects and tutorials on makercamp.com right now. And some of those projects from the book are actually there. So if you're registered on Maker Camp this summer with your summer camp programming, check out the arts and crafts section. You'll see 2 of the chapters from there.
Oh, that is perfect. And I think that is just so amazing. Actually, I'm sharing the link here also as well to makercamp.com. And as soon as I open this right now, guess who it is that I see right there? That video, you know, immediately it's you. So, I mean, this is so great. You know, I am, you know, taken back because, again, I'm just really excited of just everything that you've shared so far. I mean, just your energy, your passion, your journey into this world and what you're continuing to do. So let me ask you something is, you know, as far as when you were, I was watching and doing a little research too. You were telling a story in another show where you said that, you know, growing up, or maybe you'd like to buy and take apart things and things of that sort. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe was that something that just started maybe like you said when you started tinkering, or had it always been something where you were always curious as to how things worked?
Yeah, no, you know, like I grew up in a very traditional home. Like my dad came from Italy to America. I'm first generation American. You know, my dad was a stonemason. Like I watched my father growing up build the second floor of our house, like with him and like two other people, you know? So my dad, talk about maker, you know, just watching that growing up definitely left a big impact. The confidence to build inside yourself that you can make anything, like, and the only thing that's stopping us is just the research and asking the right people to help us, you know? And I think that's a really big thing that happened during Maker Faire. Like when I first started going to Maker Faire, that's what changed my whole direction. Was like, man, there's always somebody that knows something that can help what my dream is, what I'm trying to create, what the direction. When you think about Maker Faire, it's like 150 tables, and each booth is someone who's mastered a specific art form, you know? And you take the business card, you buy a product, you know, like, and you do your research. And especially now with the internet, like, you know, obviously a quick search can bring up some amazing tutorials to help you create what you imagine. But yeah, at an early age, watching my dad make stuff. And then as I got into tinkering and electronics, I mean, battery powered electronics are where my heart's at. So I hack everything, you know, like I add relays to cheap toys and an Arduino and make a magic trick. Like that's part of what I do for magicians when I lecture is I do that, where I introduce them to how to take apart any electronic toy and make it into a magic trick, you know, in performance. So the idea, it's a liberating feeling because when you buy a product, you should never look at it like it stops there. Like you got to be able to open it. You have to be able to take it apart. Actually, there's a shirt from Make that says, if you can't take it apart, you don't own it, you know? And I love that.
But, you know, you're hitting on so many things, believe it or not, you know, in what you do and in the teaching profession. I mean, a lot of those things correlate, like you said, you know, as far as finding out how things work. Like sometimes, you know, even in my job as an instructional tech, and you find a platform that does something, and then, you know, maybe there's another platform that may do the same thing, but they just add an additional bell and whistle. And then all of a sudden we kind of get drawn to that without really diving in deep to that first platform and seeing the full potential, and even in figuring out how to use it in innovative ways that maybe the company never intended for them to be used that way, but you figured out how you can, and doing those things. And, you know, very similar to, like you said, that passion that you had of figuring things out, how things work, to give you that better understanding, the skill level to the skill set that you're building there. Also, I mean, critical thinking skills, you know, the problem solving skills and those things. So I just love that I myself, just coming from that education lens in seeing everything that you do, I'm seeing it as an educator, and I'm like, man, like all of what you've talked about so far right to this point, I'm like, that can definitely help, you know, any pre-service teacher or any teacher. Those are skills that just work in all subject matters. So, I mean, like I said, right now I'm actually taking notes, as you can see me here, and doing those things because, like I said, it's great how you can mix or what I'm learning from you, I can take it and put it into my practice. And like I was talking to you a little earlier, it's not necessarily change my practice, but just add that little additional seasoning to what I'm already doing. And I think that that's great because I can see that you're doing that, you know, already for your shows. And hey, Omar is here. Omar's got a comment. It says here, the way we look at apps, what else can our students create? So that's the way we look at apps. Yeah. So what else can our students create? So thank you, Omar, for joining us. Omar is a great guy, also into instructional tech, amazing creator. Awesome. So thank you for joining us, Omar. I appreciate you. Okay, so now that we've got a little bit of, you know, where all of this passion came from, your inspiration from Ms. Ranello, the flower shop, your tinkering, and so on. So, I mean, it wouldn't be like an episode if we don't really relate and maybe connect you also to our audiences that, you know, at that level too as well. And, you know, just talking a little bit more maybe personal as far as, you know, imposter syndrome, maybe, you know, I mean, there's a whole world of people that are out there that may be doing some things maybe when you first started. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Maybe kind of like, did you ever feel like, man, I'm out of my place here. I'm out of my league. Maybe I'm not doing things right. What were some of those things that you overcame to just be this amazing rock star that you are now with so much passion?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a heavy question. That's a heavy question because, you know, I can go in a lot of different directions. You know, I grew up in a household, you know, that was very traditional, like I said. So that means there was a lot of legalism, a lot of rules that I had to, you know, I fell in love with punk rock music in the mid 90s, pop punk. And, you know, coming from this like old school Italian family, like, like, what do you mean you're dyeing your hair? What are you piercing? Your lips, you know, like, you know, so there was a big shift where like I really went in this direction. I played in a punk band for like 6-7 years. I mean, I don't care. I wore dresses and I walked around like there was something at my core about being free, you know, like just being free. Like the idea that I can't wear something because, you know, it's not acceptable just really infuriated me, you know, at that age. And I think there was a deeper tone to that because there's a freedom we all want in this life, you know, like, and that was part of my freedom at that time. And from that freedom and those changes of wearing extreme clothing or piercings, you know, came a lot of criticism, you know, came a lot of judgment, you know, but what happens from that suffering? You either like get beaten down or your skin gets thicker, right? Like your skin gets thicker. You learn to pick your battles, you know? And from that, you know, and performing in a punk band on stage and being loud on the mic and like, you know, and like all that stuff, like really, I don't know, something hit home when it came to kids, you know? And when I was a teacher's aide for kids with disabilities in my mid-20s. My heart still aches. Like I feel part of me is like I could go back to school and be a teacher in that direction because that's how much it affected my kids show. Like the foundation of my show comes from those 2 years of those being a one-on-one aide, you know. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like the judgmental. Like it's the same thing. Like and your heart goes out and you fight and you fight for that freedom and you learn how to educate people to stand up for themselves and get the confidence and the creativity. That's where the Arduino comes in. That's where the maker movement comes in. We want to empower kids to create what they imagine. So if they want to be a hairstylist when they grow up, well, boom, they're going to 3D print hair, what is it called? Hair dryer accessories, you know, they're going to 3D print like clips for their clippers. Like this kind of technology can be utilized in all forms, you know, like, so the idea for me when I learned the Arduino, it wasn't just like a little techie thing for me. It was like a game changer, like learning how to use a hammer and a nail. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so from that stuff, that's where my kid show changed. It wasn't just a kid's birthday party anymore. It was a symbol. It was a philosophy. It's me going to schools and theaters talking about why I use cardboard and not fancy materials, right? Because art comes from the bottom up. It comes from poverty to riches. It doesn't come from the other way. You don't write a great song when you're comfortable. You write a great song when everything sucks, you know? That's where the song comes from. So from those teenage years, I know I'm getting passionate about it because it's a trigger, you see? But it's a good trigger. I'm getting passionate about it because from those years of like that like stuff and those battles, like that's where the gold comes, you know, that's where like the creativity comes. That's where the problem solving really comes. So for me, in the big scheme of things, when I do my kids show, it's more about like here, like this is a book and like you can build the magic tricks you saw. You can be a magician, man, and like get that applause. Like here, this is a Chomperbot kit. You can get it at makezine.com. You can order this and build a robot that does magic, and then you can take it apart and build a robot that does something that you want, you know? So it comes like all that stuff stems from, you know, finding that freedom that we all crave. I hope that wasn't too heavy.
No, it actually wasn't. I mean, what I loved about this is just really your genuine honesty and you're speaking from your heart. And even before, you know, we even met, and I mean, actually when we were talking backstage and everything, I had no idea that you did have, you know, that background in education as far as being that teacher aide, you know, for you said special needs kids or
yeah, and
I
was in school for it too. Yeah, I was in school for it too. Yeah,
and believe it or not, you know, with that conversation, even prior to that, and up until now that we've been talking, I was like, man, I know that he's either been a teacher or maybe worked or maybe even thought about it or somewhere, because it really shows that you do have a heart for teaching. You in right now in just what you expressed. Just, I feel, and I echo everything that you said as far as empowering our students, giving them the freedom by giving them those tools that they can create. And oftentimes, and it's come up, it's been a theme in probably like the last 25 shows here where we've talked about how students have not had as many opportunities to be creative in a school setting. And one of the reasons that we always talk to and we kind of drill down is because of state testing. Oftentimes it's because state testing takes the front row to everything and you have to prepare the students, yet they're not giving an opportunity to create and really internalize the learning. And like you said right now, the big word is empower. Empowering our students, creating those learning experiences. And so, like I mentioned to you, I'm pretty sure that, you know, well, actually, like I said to you, it's the students will remember the teachers that have created those learning experiences. So, I mean, not being at one of your shows and never seen one of your shows in person, I can tell, though, that those kids that are there in your show are leaving empowered. They're leaving excited. They're going to leave just with this, that the creativity bug is there, and it's just a matter of, like you said, putting some of those kits in their hands and seeing what they can do. But man, that is just awesome. I love it. So let me just we're gonna kind of go in not so deep this time or anything like that, but you know, I just some questions that I really love to ask, because like I said, I really want our audience members to really connect with our guests here, and just to see that, hey, we all have our stepping stones to success, which were our failures, and we move on up, and this is what forms us. Like you said, I think you said it very well, very eloquently in the way that you were passionate about it. But even now, you know, what are some of the things that right now have been obstacles for you? I know maybe we can talk a little bit about the pandemic. I know you were out and about traveling continually. How was that in the beginning? You know, how did you feel when you weren't able to be out there, you know, with the kids and performing, you know, live? How did that feel at first?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you have a rhythm in your life, you know, and you have this stability and this balance, you know, there's certain things in that rhythm and pattern that create happiness in your life, you know. And then if something is taken away, you know, so like my show is like, you know, that's where I get that feedback and that like excitement where I know that I have my purpose in the world, you know. And then it's like taken, and it's like, oh man, you know, and then I'm in a screen doing a Zoom, you know, or Facebook Live, and like I'm bringing all my stage robots, you know, on the Zoom screen, and they're just bombing, right? Like everything I'm doing is failing, you know, because I'm trying to do the same show I do on stage on Zoom, and it doesn't work. Long story short, remember what I said earlier? When like I got that criticism from that family, I took every talent that I have and I pushed it all into my show, right? What I did was, here, look, Fonz, you know what I did?
What did you do?
I took my guitar in the middle of March. I took my guitar and I said, I'm not doing any magic. I'm not doing any magic. I went on Facebook Live, played my guitar, and I told parents on the Facebook Live to tell their kids to comment something they're excited about and put it in their comments, their name, and I'll shout them out. And I did a dance party for 15 minutes, just playing the harmonica, singing these kids, shouting them out, and then doing a dance party, freeze dance. Let me tell you, that was the best decision of the whole year that I did. From that one 15-minute session, I got picked up for 2 different residencies from 2 major companies that let me live stream once a week for 5 months. And that paid our bills to get us through those hard months. So what I'm trying to say is, when there's an obstacle, when there's something that's like stopping, you know, like something like this pandemic, you have to go back to your file cabinet and take all the talents you've learned. How silly are they? It doesn't matter. Like, utilize those talents. That's where the problem solving comes in. Like, I haven't played guitar since I was like, you know, in a punk band, you know, electric guitar, singing and screaming. Like, but there was a gut feeling like, you know what, I need to do something. Like, how do I connect with kids as best I can? And the music worked that time, and that helped me. And from there, I learned how to create a Zoom show. Like I said, all my robotics now are shrunk, and it's fun. And the long story short, Fonz, is this is my last 3 weeks doing Zoom shows. Starting September, the theater shows, the in-person shows start, and I'm terrified. There, I said it. I'm completely terrified.
Oh my goodness.
It's gonna be, that's what's gonna happen. You gotta, you know, you get back up and you rock it out.
Yeah. And, you know, I love everything that you've said, because it's something that, you know, you're showing your vulnerability again, in that sense of, well, at first I didn't know what to do, so let's just go on Facebook and do this, and then something great came out of it.
Yeah.
And I love everything that you said, man, it really resonates. That teacher heart, that teacher that's in you really resonates, because as a teacher, it reminds me of myself when I'm like, you know, just take what you have. My 3 words, my keywords to survive, not survive, but to be a successful teacher have always been improvise, adapt, and overcome. Ooh, and so what you did is improvise, where you're like, okay, I'm going to pick up my guitar, get on Facebook, and get out there and shout the kids out. Boom. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you've got those shows. You're still doing what you love. Now you've got the music, you've got the shows, the magic, the tinkering, and you're still just sharing that love and passion that you have for your craft. And then now you're getting ready to come back after 18 months. And you know, now it's like, ooh, it's like now I'm coming back live. But as a teacher, I mean, I would imagine, like you yourself, even when you were doing your student teaching, you know, being vulnerable in that I don't know everything, and how is this gonna go? How is this gonna? And you know, teachers go through that all the time. So, you know, like I said, this is the one thing that I've enjoyed this whole conversation, but I keep picking up on those underlying tones of that teacher heart and the way that you've been able to do these things. And I'm just, like I said, you know, I'm very inspired. And talking about inspiration, let's talk about, you know, your show now a little bit. And where do you draw the inspiration from as far as your tricks, and what kind of robot you're going to build for that specific, you know, magic trick and so on? How do you ideate all of that, you know?
Yeah, it's a great question. First, before I even answer, is the 3 things you said. What was it? Improvise,
adapt, and overcome.
Ah, so good. Like, so good. Like, now I'm writing stuff down. I mean, that's because that's like such a symbol for, even as a performer, you know, we're constantly improvising, we're constantly adapting, and we're constantly overcoming every audience. You know, in magic, we always say you never have the same audience twice, you know, so you're constantly adapting, you know, because you're never going to have that one heckler. You're never going to have that one person that was laughing really loud that helped you through the show again. There's just so many variables. So anyway, that was very powerful. I'm so glad you said those 3 things. But guess what, Fonz? I forgot your question now, so you have to tell me.
No worries. What I was asking is just your inspiration. Where do you draw your inspiration from for your next robot, your next trick, and so on? Where does that all come from?
Yeah, so basically for me, my goal, you know, as a performer and a business person, is to take the maker community and the magic community and bring them together. So I constantly research what is hot right now in the magic community, what's trending, what are the tricks that magicians are doing, and what's hot right now in the maker community. What are the things that are trending, what technology, tech, and how can I take the core principles of magic to mix them together, you know? And that's kind of like the video I showed you with the coin matrix, with the robot, with the 4 quarters, you know? That's where that stuff comes from. I didn't invent I didn't invent the matrix coin trick. Every magician does that with cards, you know. What I did invent was making a robot do it, you know, so it becomes brand new again. So you know, like going into this new year, you know, I am definitely changing my show up, you know. I am definitely adding new robotics. The idea is to have insanely strong magic that I can create, and how do I adapt robotics to that strong magic, but not just robotics. Like homespun, homemade, in my style robotics, where kids aren't afraid of it in the sense that they won't be able to make it. Like, I want them to go home always looking at everything I hold as something that is homemade, so they can feel that empowerment and do the research to try to make things. But yeah, I mean, all kinds of things inspire me. You know, there's blogs I read. I search certain video playlists, everything that who I interact with, magicians that I jam with. In my second book that's coming out, I was inspired by laser pointers and how they pop balloons and how they only pop black balloons. And that blew my mind. And now I'm writing a whole routine right now that utilizes robotics and laser pointers to create a magic trick. So it comes from everywhere, you know?
Man, that is great. You know, you've hit on so many things as far as being inspired and even just ourselves as educators. I mean, we're constantly I know I'm constantly looking to those that have gone ahead of me with the experience, to even those that are new, new teachers, and just always doing research. I always keep my eye out to see what ways we can innovate, what ways that we can grow. And like you said, something that you said really also resonated with me was that you didn't invent the trick. You just kind of made it new. You reinvented it in a different way. And even ourselves, I mean, as educators, I think that that's some good advice for us. And even as people, to continually reinvent yourself and just, take what you already doing and maybe just add that, like I said, that additional seasoning, and then just keep going. And, I think that that's really, like, every time I hear you talk, I feel like, man, I am totally talking with somebody that's like-minded. I feel like, I'm talking to a teacher, because today I'm learning from you, and you've really sparked, again, fan that flame, that passion for what I do and what I want to do and continue to do and work on. So thank you so much, Mario. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, as we get to the end of our show, I just wanted to ask, where is the best way that our audience members can connect with you?
Yeah. So if you go to mariothemagician.com, you can see all of our updates. I'm real excited about it. If you click the tour link, we just updated it with the theaters that will be hitting starting January for our tour, and see if we're coming next to you. Like, I don't know, like, what's up there right now currently, but there's some stuff scheduled up there. And then also on Instagram at Mario the Magician. We post a lot on Instagram. So you'll see a lot of teasers of my robotics and magic on Instagram. And we have a small YouTube page too, but mostly mariothemagician.com is probably the key spot.
Perfect. And let me see here. I am putting up the website here just for our audience to check out. And so here are the tour dates. I did pop that link in there into the chat. And of course, they can visit you on your website, but you've got couple of shows here that are coming up, and I don't see anything in Texas yet.
Not yet.
But we'll just keep it at yet for now. But man, and yeah, definitely follow Mario on his social media. He definitely has Twitter presence. I know I've seen him on Instagram, and then of course Facebook or anywhere. Just connect with him. You can go to the website. He's got his links there and so on. But yeah, definitely, guys, I highly recommend. And as you saw, just the passion that he has and the experience that he has, I'm sure that, I don't know, Mario, maybe if some of our audience members would just simply like to reach out to you and just maybe get inspired by you, would that be okay, that they could just contact you?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of stuff, talking to people like you, Fonz, it's like not work at all. Like, this is what it's about. It's like a pure jam session. Talking about making is what excites me. And I know it excites you too, because we were jamming even before we even started recording.
yes, we were, man, for sure. All right, here we go. Let's do kind of a little, I don't know, a couple of questions here just to kind of end the show on a high note and everything like that. But, you did mention that you did play in a punk rock band. So now I'm just curious to ask, what instrument or instruments did you play, or do you play?
So I was just, early on I played guitar and just acoustic guitar and sang. I did a lot of open mic nights and jams, and then I wasted, no, I don't like to say wasted, but I mean, I didn't make much money for a long time. But I had amazing memories with a bunch of friends, and we played for about 4 or 5 years in a couple bands right here in the Northeast, like in New York, New Jersey, Long Island area. There was a great pop punk and hardcore scene, like in the late 90s. Man, I'm really aging myself. But yeah, so so playing guitar and singing has always been something that I love, like outside of magic,
Nice. Well, that's great. I played myself too for a couple of years, starting like in 1999. So I played in a ska band, played saxophone, and then I played bass for a couple of other bands and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, all right, speaking my language and stuff like that. So that's good. All right, Mario. So now, if you can have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Man, it's so funny because I just wrote something down yesterday on my desktop on a piece of paper. It said, who can you give hope to today? And it's like something I want to write everywhere, you know, because I think the real reason why we do what we do is to bring hope, you know, the real reason why people write the best jokes they can at a comedy club, to be a stand-up comedian, is not to make people laugh, but to give them hope, you know. The same reason why you go to a magic show so you can forget reality for half an hour is because you're bringing them hope, you know, like, and it comes in all different forms, you know. And I think, you know, looking at life in a way that you're just thankful and grateful, you know, can give you the energy so that you can give that hope to someone else, you know. So I definitely would have that up there.
Man, that is awesome. That is great. Because oftentimes, you know, you never know the things, even the small things that you do can definitely make a difference in someone's life, and in steering them in or igniting a passion, igniting that spark that's going to lead them in a direction, you know, for them that is going to inspire them. So that's great. And my last question to you, Mario, is if you and I were to switch roles and you were the podcast host and I was your guest, what question would you like to ask me?
Oh man, this is great. This is great. What would I ask you? I mean, I guess I would ask like what can us and teachers do starting this new year as the pandemic ends and we're going back into this hybrid learning? Like, are there any tips that you can give us, like, as we enter into this new realm of reality when it comes to being a teacher?
Well, the thing is, always the tips are always improvise, adapt, and overcome. Always be ready for that. And if anything, you know, this 18 months, I think that has been the big lesson for a lot of educators, to be able to do those three things, but to also, once we come back, really, you know, work on building relationships with students. They are coming back after 18 months, you know, depending on where you are. And, you know, it's going to be different for them again, you know, just as you yourself are kind of a little nervous now that you're going back to live shows. I know we have teachers, we're going to probably even going to have students that, you know, are going to come back and they're going to be like, oh, like, what's this? Like, you know, and kind of have to, you know, socialize again. So just build that community and to never forget why it is that you do what you do, that passion that we have, like you said, to bring that hope to people, to spark and fan that flame. Because just like Miss Ranello did for you, I still remember my high school experience with my teacher that just I've never forgotten. And that is one of the things that students will always remember, the teachers that create those memorable learning experiences. So yeah, that would be my biggest thing right there that I'd love to share.
Love it. Absolutely love it. No, it's true. I mean, you're speaking so much truth. It's true.
Awesome. Well, Mario, oh my goodness, I can't believe that we are done. We could definitely kept going on for at least another hour or so, just because the conversation has been great. But I definitely, now that you are part of my PLF, I use that hashtag PLF is my personal learning family. You are now a part of my personal learning family since we've connected. So you always, and this goes to all my PLF family, you always have an open invite to this show. So maybe when your book comes out, or maybe when you have some other updates, things of that sort, and you'd love to come back and visit and just jam out with us again and just continue to inspire educators, inspire students, inspire anybody and bring them hope, you're always more than welcome to come back here, my friend. And this will be your platform to share that as well. So thank you so much for your time, Mario. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Fonz. Everything that you do, man, it's just so inspiring. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to all our audience members, again, thank you so much for those of you that joined us on Facebook, joined us on Twitter, joined us on Twitch and on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Omar, my friend here, I know we've had a couple of guests with comments and so on. Thank you, thank you. And as always, we always strive to give you our best. So please, if you have any feedback for us, let us know. Go to our website, myedtech.life. You can go ahead and drop us a line, contact us, maybe even give us a review of our show, or check out all the other 75 shows that we've had prior to this. And again, thank you again for making our show what it is. I appreciate you all, and we'll actually see you this Saturday, believe it or not. We've got a special show this Saturday with the Unlock the Middle guys. So they're going to be here on our show, so I'm really excited about that. And again, as always, Mario, thank you so much. Enjoy this time, and I wish you the best, to you and your family, as you're getting ready to hit the road, and much success to you, my friends. All right, guys, y'all take care. And don't forget, my friends, until next time, what do we always say? Stay techie. Y'all take care.